Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Mark Atkinson from Somerford Associates here. I'm known as the technical marketing guy at Somerford, and it is my pleasure to talk to you today about Splunk Augmented Reality. And honestly, it really is a pleasure because having got involved with augmented reality with Splunk, it's a very, genuinely very exciting technology. And it's something that I am very, very keen to talk to the world about. So let's get started. Just note my email address at the bottom there if you have any questions afterwards. And of course, you'll be welcome to add questions through here. Could I just get somebody just through the questions just to say that you can hear me okay, just to make sure that everything's coming through nice and loud and clear. While we do that, I'm just going to carry on and just hope that you're hearing me fine. So this is what we're going to go through today. Really, I think fundamentally, what is augmented reality with Splunk? Most of you, I'm sure, have already, if not all of you, have heard of augmented reality. You know what it looks like, but we're going to put it in context of Splunk. Then I would like to take you through the possible usage scenarios, and of which there are many. Then, based on a lot of customer feedback, I'm going to go through a few things here on top of that, which is about high volume assets, about security using Splunk AR, something new, which is AR workflow automation, also new features on the new version of Splunk AR that's come out this month, and then finally, how to get started. So hopefully with that, we'll get going. So let's start with what is Splunk Augmented Reality. So data is everywhere. You already know that. You're in this industry, so you know that data is everywhere, and businesses are transforming. Digitization of businesses is everywhere, and this is very key. And you already know that. And getting the right data is absolutely key. Now, as IT people, as most of you are online, you know about data. You know where your data is, but not everybody does this in the business. So what we're talking about augmented reality is getting the right data at the right time, okay? But also in the right place. And this is where augmented reality starts to come in. And that in itself is very interesting. But what I think makes it transformational in terms of business, not just IT on its own, but IT within the business itself, is this: it's automatic. That is absolutely key, and I can't emphasize how important that is from a business transformation perspective. If you couple that with Gartner's comments, this was late 2018, that by this year, 50% of operational technology service providers will create strategic partnerships with IT-centric providers for IoT offerings. And it's not just IoT, by the way, it's other businesses as well. It just shows you that how IT is going to be impacting the digital transformation of the whole business. And that's why it's fundamentally important, because I see Splunk AR, it's very, very useful in the IT space, but it's also incredibly powerful beyond the IT space as well. So in terms of where it fits in, you've got the standard, if you like, Splunk offerings with the specialist applications, and fitting within that is Splunk AR. And Splunk AR fits within the connected experiences section, and that's under the Splunk Cloud Gateway. And I will be talking more about that during the presentation. So let's start with what is Splunk Augmented Reality. And let's put it in these terms. So actually, breaking it down to simply, it's a mobile application. So it's a mobile application that allows you to view and interact with your data on the move, but also fundamentally in a location-specific way. That is very, very important, because Splunk AR isn't just about augmented reality. It's a lot more than that, and I'll come on to that very shortly. So really, it's about seeing data on the move, and this is all about getting the right data in the right place at the right time automatically, and that is fundamentally important. Also, of course, you get these live data visualizations. Splunk, being a real-time capability solution, will give you that real-time data where you need it, when you need it. This is also very key. It also anchors to a corresponding asset. So Splunk AR is spatially aware, and that is also quite critical. It means that if you want to have a specific piece of data located geospatially around you in a particular place, for example, you need it next to some piece of hardware, a meter or something like that, when you come to look at it next time, it's still where you left it. And I will be showing you that later anyway, but that is a very fundamental requirement requirement and a fundamental of Splunk AR. So let's dig down a little bit deeper. I mentioned the fact that it's not just about AR, as in augmented reality. So the app itself is designed to provide the most relevant data at the specific time and location. So what do we mean by that? So there is an outer layer of this solution, which is what we call geofenced data. Now, geofenced data isn't augmented reality data. This is Splunk dashboards. The key thing here is that we're looking at something like if you access an area, so it could be a factory size area, it could be a town if you like, but really you're talking about large areas, of course, geofenced areas. You can control how big that geofence is, of course, but we're not fine tuning it down to several meters. We're talking about quite a larger area like a building. Then you want to layer it down into smaller spaces. Now we're talking about beacons. Beacons are really talking about room size areas, parts of a factory, parts of a warehouse. So we're looking at getting different data or finer granularity of data now using beacons. And then finally, if you're next to a piece of equipment or a very specific area, then you've got your inner layer, which is then the augmented reality workspace. So you can see that you've got 3 different layers, all provided to your mobile device automatically based on what you need, where you need it. And you choose what you want to have access to on the mobile device itself. So let's look at the available initiation methods that we have for Splunk AR. The geofencing is quite simple, of course. It's using GPS data based on that mobile device. You've created the geofenced area, so when your mobile device enters that geofenced area, it will provide you access to those dashboards. If you're then near a beacon, currently they're iBeacons and they're BLE 4.0 compliant devices in the middle layer. So when you're in range of a beacon, then you will have access to a different set of dashboards that you've defined by your administrator or by your business. Then you have quick response codes, which can be generated by Splunk or can be your own quick response codes, NFC tags, and also asset tags. If you've already got a large number of assets and you don't want to have to add a whole bunch of QR codes on top of that, then you can use the asset tags you already have. So that's the way you initialize those, and we'll come into a little bit more detail of how that actually works very shortly. So this is the supported asset tag types. This is not a test. I'm not asking you to remember all this. If you look at the link below, it'll give you access to a useful guide which includes all this. So if you have this type of asset tags within your business, then you are already supported with that capability within Splunk AR. So I think the nice thing now to do would be to show you it in action. So I've given you a flavor of what it is. Let's show it to you in action. So what we've got here on the left window is a geofence dashboard. So this is the outer workspace. And so you can see already, I'm just stopping the video, we're outside, obviously. So this could be, it doesn't have to be on a Wi-Fi network. This could be on your cellular, your 4G network, whatever network, it doesn't matter. So you're on outside, you're on your networks, and basically you can see here, because I'm in a geofenced area, I have these 2 dashboards here. You can see that. So you've got these 2 dashboards, and all you simply do is you click on the dashboard and out pops a live dashboard. It's as simple as that. Now, for IT people, perhaps not so wonderful because you already know all this stuff very, very well. But for business users, to be able to get access to data for a site that they haven't even got out of their car yet could be very powerful. And that's the whole story about this, is you've got access to live, up-to-date information, and you haven't even got inside the building. So that could be quite powerful for some businesses. Now you've moved inside the building, and then you're looking at beacons. So now that's a BLE beacon. So now you just click on there and look at nearby dashboards, and here we can see you have Somerford TM beacon. Okay, it's live. So just because I wanted to, there's the UID, but it doesn't really matter. Then you just click on the beacon itself, and that pops a dashboard. Now, in both cases, you can have up to 20 dashboards available. The beacons can be the same. You can add more dashboards to the beacons quite easily and edit them up. Okay, so these are live dashboards. So that's how that works. So that is the middle layer. So the next one is the AR inner layer. So now you're inside a factory, you've got access to a particular piece of machinery, and you want to then scan the QR code of that machinery, and it tells you everything you need to know about that machinery. So let's kick off this video and I'll show you what I mean. So now that's the QR code. Here it comes. So what we have first is you can see the live dashboards coming up and they're being populated. So let's just stop there. So you can see that you've got live dashboards. This is not the best of videos. If you click on the middle bit, everything goes black, so you can actually see these a bit better. So I probably need to improve that. But so you can see those, but also you have access to PDF information, and therefore you can zoom in and out on that. It supports live links, so if there's a link in there, it'll take you to the internet, no problem. So there is a way of getting extra information, and it also supports the video capability. I think it's one of the first to support video capabilities. You probably can't hear the video at the moment. That's not a problem. So what you can see is you have access to video, and it can be multiple videos, not just one. So you can have multiple PDFs, you can have audio files, text, you can make notes, etc. And that's all. I'll talk about that in a little bit more. So you can see how this works. So you've got the AR dashboard. So that's quite a powerful solution as well. So those are the three layers that you have within Splunk AR. I wanted to pause a little bit here and show you a video from Puget Sound Energy. They were on stage at Splunk Conf 19. They're an energy company, Washington State, West Coast America, and they're one of the first users of Splunk AR. So let me just run this video, and you probably won't hear the audio, but I'll just talk it through and show you what's going on. So this is Puget Sound Energy, big energy company in Washington State. So they have energy relating to hydroelectric power, and this is the IT team that are looking after the equipment within the areas. So they have areas here. So Chris Ramsey is talking about having access 24/7, and he gets an alert. So you can see he's getting an alert, and he's going to check out this. Don't worry, I can send you the link for this later anyway. You'll see this, watch this for yourself, but I just want to talk it through for you. So now he's got an alert on his device, and then he's looking in here. So you can see that the dashboards are spatially aware, and that they've been placed where they need to be placed. There's also a PDF file there with a schematic, and there's also a ServiceNow ticket, which I'll come on to, which is something that I need to discuss with you as well. So there's the error. You can see why the alert was caused by this return pressure. Now, the ServiceNow ticket is AR workflow automation in action. So he's now connecting to ServiceNow to pull a ticket up because there's an error, and he wants to set a new ticket for looking at this problem. So that's fundamentally how that works. Now he's actually interacting with the ServiceNow environment as well within Splunk AR. So I shall pass on from that. So that's fundamentally how that works. I shall send you out the link for that video, no problem. It's actually on Splunk's website. So just a quick simple thing is how to add content. So the dashboards are associated with the instance when you register the QR code. But then on top of that, you can add the videos and PDFs. So I just wanted to walk through very quickly how that is done, because it's actually very simple. So the first thing you do is in the AR interface, you touch on the indexing performance box. And then once you've done that, you get this plus sign. Then it comes to the new note. And I mentioned the fact that you can add text, video, images, audio, and PDF files. So let's do video. So you just click on touch screen on video, and then you just put the URL in for the video. You add the URL, you add the title to it, which I've added here, connected experiences, and you're done. And that's as simple as that. And that's how you add content into the AR workspace. So let's look at examples of possible customer usage. So these are just some of many that we've discussed with various customers that Somerford have that are interested in Splunk AR. So in IT and data visibility solutions, You can see the data where and when you want it. So for example, one customer is very keen on data center management for server racks, and they're looking at that at the moment. And in fact, it was a customer that coined the phrase dashboards everywhere. I can't claim that one, but I think it's a great one to copy. So plagiarism is always effective. And so dashboards everywhere to them means that they can put these anonymous QR codes up, and that means that no one else, unless you've got access to the Splunk instance, can tell what that information is going to give. So effectively, you can put secret information up in plain sight, which is quite effective. And these dashboards mean that you can have effectively screens everywhere. That's really what he's looking at. It's putting effectively virtual screens anywhere and everywhere. So if you wanted to augment your screen capabilities within a business, you could do it for virtually nothing using Splunk AR. And then if we look at operations, factory warehouse, we're talking to many customers at the moment about how to do this. And one of our customers has provided me data yesterday that we're going to be showing at Splunk Live. I've just been playing with the dashboards this afternoon, getting up and running, and quite incredible. Within minutes, I've got all the alerting I needed at the dashboard. So that's done, and we're ready for Splunk Live with this customer, and that's a big warehousing type customer. Then military, we're having many discussions at the moment with various different facilities, let's say, on how we can use Splunk AR in these kind of environments. Office and department, many offices have got large departments for very many different things, government or otherwise, and it would be nice if perhaps management have the chance of walking through different offices and getting up-to-date information as they walk through. They don't have to wait for somebody to come back to their desk or get information. It's just there and then as they need it, as they walk past. And then there are many use cases for health as well. So for example, patient confidentiality, instead of having information about the patient right at the bottom of the bed, if they've got the codes, they can just be scanned. All that patient information can come up in a confidential environment, for example, or doctors on their rounds can get all the alerting they need without having to wake patients up and get information off them like that. So there's many different ways. So the basic bottom line in on that is there are fundamentally hundreds of possible usage models that you can have with this. This is just some of many, and I'm sure you can think of better ones than this. So moving on, this came from, again, a request from one of our customers in the warehousing areas. How do we deal with high volume assets? They had thousands of assets. They didn't want to create thousands of dashboards. How can we do that? So Somerford have got some very clever people to help me out here. And we're looking at using tokens. And if you enable a dashboard with a text field input, it turns the dashboard into a form. So you can see there's form. And that's changed from dashboard automatically. So then if you assign a token as AR Asset ID, as you can see in the red box there underneath the form, then you've got a way of being able to search based on that asset ID. And that's fundamental. It means that then they can use that as a filter for dashboards. And this is the way you look at it. There's some links at the bottom of the page, and you can also use multiple assets, of course, through CSV files. So you can ingest CSV files to get all of this information. So we've talked about high volume assets. Let's go on to Splunk AR Security now. So firstly, this is about, is it secure? Because some of the people that we're talking to are worried about security of this. So I wanted to touch on this. It's kind of a little bit in depth for a Friday afternoon. I'm not going to go through some huge amount of detail, but I've provided this for you in case you or some of your colleagues want to sort of thrash through this a little bit more. So, but first, what is Splunk Cloud Gateway? So fundamentally, you can view your Splunk data on your mobile device and the connected experiences apps using the Splunk Cloud Gateway. It's kind of an intermediary. So it sits between your mobile device and your Splunk instance. It fundamentally uses an open port outbound call to support prod.spacebridge.spl.mobi. So this is a secure encrypted call, and all data is encrypted, of course, as you'd expect. There are no inbound connections initiated to this, and end-to-end process is used to identify mobile devices. So you cannot have somebody just randomly try and connect to the Splunk instance, even if they know the logon credentials for that Splunk instance. If that device isn't registered, there is no way they're getting access to that data. No way. So just a quick diagram to show that Splunk AR is part of the connected experiences application. So Splunk TV and Splunk Mobile are all part of the same solution. So you'll need a Splunk Cloud Gateway as part of your solution. A little bit on security again. So all data is encrypted, and there is multiple layers of encryption. So it's using libsodium at the high level, and it's using IES as well as part of that as a hybrid encryption scheme. But also it uses TLS 1.2 protocol, and it uses hash algorithms. So this is a transport level encryption solution at the end of the day. And one of the key things to note that the data is not stored in the Splunk servers. It's only storing anonymized routing information. So there's no specific customer data stored in those. And that's quite an important factor for certain customers. Again, lots of words, apologize for these foils, but the idea is that you're providing unique private and public key pairings. So the Splunk instance itself generates this public and private key when you install the cloud gateway, when you initially install the AR app. So that's a level of security. But when you actually register the device, that's another level of security, because those devices are also public private key encrypted as well. So you've got double layers of encryption before you start. And then you have all of this message exchange going on at an encrypted level. This is something that's new. Workflow automation. So augmented reality workflow automation is just a cautionary note that this is private and still really technically invite only. So you're welcome to play with it, but there's a limited amount of support that can be provided at this stage. So just be warned that it's kind of buyer beware on this one at the moment. So it's very early. Some people are already starting with it, of course. The whole idea of this is it really becomes a two-way communication capability for the AR interface. So a little bit on workflow automation, what does it actually mean? So if you're a worker in a factory and you need help in getting things done within the factory, you need some guidance, there are some guided playbooks that you can get using Splunk Phantom, for example. We create these playbook guides so that you can triage issues and sort problems out within the AR environment. You can also connect to integrated apps like ServiceNow that you saw in the Puget Sound Energy video. So you can use your favorite apps through an API. And also you can use it fundamentally to track activities. So you can record maybe users and working through the environment, and you can do analysis on who's doing what, etc., and getting insights to how the business is operating. What we believe this will result in is potentially more efficient workforce, cost savings, and perhaps better data-driven decisions, because you can see who can do what, where the best, and maybe optimized for that solution. A quick sort of very simple show it to you in action. AR workflow activation, industrial example. And let me just take you through this. So this is an industrial one. It's sort of a pump flow issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a playbook, and you can see the playbook is starting there. So what we're doing is we have a pump flow issue. We want to know what to do. So it says, it gives you the guidance. You need to check the hose. So we need to check the hose. And you check the hose. It gives you some guidance as to what you need to do and remove any blockages and all that. Do you see any blockaging? Yes, the hose is actually got a hole in it, or it's blocked completely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the hose. So the hose is now replaced. It updates the dashboards. All the indicators are changed, and we're done. I know it's a bit of a simple one, but it gives you an idea of how it can be used. So that's one example of AR workflow activation. And here's a second one. I won't take you through it, but online. But I can send links to people that want to see this. But fundamentally, you get an asset ID. It scans the thing, and it says, right, okay, start a service tech call. There's a problem with a hard drive. Okay, so you then click the playbook, and it starts the service tech, and it says start the replacement, and it'll give you a video on how to replace the hard drive. And then once that's been done and tested, it'll then set it up as active. It will monitor the device to say it's now active and everything's up and running again. So those are how playbooks can work. To get started on AR workflow automation, here's a tip for you. You can use Phantom playbooks to do that, and there is a Splunk free community version to get you started. So that's the link to the free community version, and you can see there that just click on that, and then you can register. your interest, and you'll get a key. There are some limitations, so this community license limits you to 100 calls a day, but my understanding is there's no end date to this license, so it's just a community license. So it just enables you to get started and to start to play with playbooks and to see if it's something that would be powerful for yourself. And my recommendation is to get familiar with Splunk AR first, see how it can impact your business, and then look at the next layer, which is workflow automation, because it's not that straightforward and it's still very much in the beta phase. So now we look at the new features of 2.1.0. So I've had a few customers talking about landscape and portrait mode. So we were feeding this back to Splunk, and they've actually made that change, which is brilliant. So all the work I've been doing, the actual device, which was an iPad in my case, was in portrait mode. But if you're looking at videos, wouldn't it be nice if you could look at it in landscape mode? And if you did that, it would go and turn and work. But if you turned it back, all the dashboards were then in the top left-hand corner. They weren't working properly of their little window. So when you do this now, if you go between portrait and landscape, everything turns and it works perfectly, which is great, which is a really nice benefit. This second point you won't really appreciate until you start to use it in earnest, and this is the fact that you can now use the AR workspace editor to edit the workspaces, which means that when you're actually running this in real anger, this means that you have a real effective way of managing those workspaces and doing effective control. Workspace relocation basically means that if you've got, say, an asset that somebody's taken away, but you don't know what's happened to that asset and you want to know more information about it, it persists. And so therefore, if you have scanned it once, you can go back to where it was. And even though the QR code's disappeared, you can see the workspace as it used to be. So in other words, somebody's taken an asset, that asset information is still where you left it, which can be quite a useful thing. I mentioned workflow automation, so I'll skip on to that one. And then new AR capabilities. Again, this is really about read and write specific. Managing permissions is very important because you don't want everybody to be able to have access and to be able to change dashboards. You want to be able to control how that's done within the business. So you want people to consume the data, people to create the data. They may not be the same people. So that's really how that works. So Splunk are really thinking ahead about how this can be really used in the real world. A little bit extra now, just wanted to touch on something that's coming down, because again, this has come from several sources and they have what they've defined as the two spanner scenario. In other words, an engineer or something got two spanners in their hands, a little bit facetious, but the whole idea is you need to have free hands to operate and you don't want to be holding a mobile device. So head-up displays and Google Glasses and HoloLens are all the kind of things that is being looked at. At the moment, Splunk are working and conducting a POC on HoloLens 1. Of course, HoloLens 2 is coming out, but these are still reference models. But these are going to be capable of helping you make decisions as to whether head-up display type things or head-mounted displays are going to be useful within your business. And it's something that you could be able to talk to us about in the coming months about where Splunk are with HoloLens and how you can get started using it. Okay, this is really a bit of a heads up, but just to let you know that that's coming down the pipeline. And then I'm hoping very much that at the end of this, you're going to know, you want to know how to get started. So how can you get started? It's actually very simple. The nice good news is that Splunk AR is free. Most of you already have Splunk in one shape or form, either cloud 7.1 above or enterprise. I recommend 8.0, 8.1 is fine. And you'll need to have the Splunk Cloud Gateway installed. That's fundamental. You can't use this without that installed, but that's free. Now, just so that you know, you need to have an iPhone or an iPad at the moment. It's a shame for some people, but this is just the way things are in the short term. That requires iOS 11.4 or later. My advice is to be careful on the choice of devices. Unlike myself, who was a little bit foolhardy, I looked at the bottom end of the recommendation, got an iPhone 6s Plus, and then melted it. It got very hot and it was really unsuitable. So I would personally recommend something like an iPhone XR and above. And I'm using an iPad 11 Pro, and both of those types of devices are absolutely fine. In fact, incidentally, I went to the Splunk guys about this, and they said iPhone 6S. They couldn't find one because it's California. I think they died years ago there, but that's life. So moving on, I'm producing a user guide, and I'm targeting at the end of this month. So if you want to have an easy step-by-step guide on how to get started, then there is that. There is some Splunk information as well. Mine's just a little bit more verbose and a little bit simpler step-by-step. I mentioned the fact that it's an iOS only solution for proof of concept in 2020, so you have to use an Apple device for this year. However, it's in planning. Splunk asked me a bit circumspect about Android. It's still in the planning phase, but it is the intention of Splunk to provide an Android solution. Second half 2020, it's a big TBC. That's likely or possible to be 2021 now. But the point is that over time, we'll be able to tell you a little bit more about what that is. I mean, Somerford will be a beta customer for Android as and when it appears, which is quite nice. Also want to highlight this actually, because this is quite important. I'm talking to the people owning the enterprise content management solutions for this. So you think about, where do you get your videos and PDF files from? So this is something, if you're serious about Splunk AR, to please get in touch with me on this, because what I'm trying to do at the moment is I'm gathering the inputs for Splunk across the UK, at least at the moment. It might go wider, as to what do customers need for their ECMs. So, typical ones are Dropbox and Google Drive and solutions like that. So what are your solutions? How are you going to get your data? And if you're interested, I can send you a form, very simple form to fill in, to tick a few boxes or provide some information in boxes to help us understand what your needs are. And the reason for saying that is that if you don't provide us that information, then you may not find that the solution you want is there. So this is a little bit of heads up on what I'm looking for. I've put this into a form so that you can actually provide me with that data. So if you're interested and want to take this seriously, then I'll send you that, and then you can provide me with that data. So that's really what that's all about. And finally, so hopefully you've seen that Splunk AR is for location sensitive and contextual data. It's for people beyond the IT space as well as within the IT space to use it. I think it can be business transformational and creates new usage models or capabilities within a business. And check out 2.1.0 as it's available now, and it's pretty good. And as I said, please get in touch if you need any assistance with this. With that, I'd like to thank you for your kind attention. Any feedback would be welcome, though, good, bad, or indifferent. So I really appreciate if you found this session useful or not. That's my email address again. So if you have any questions that you'd like to ask in private, that's absolutely fine. Just send me an email and I'll help answer you, and I can provide you with the ECM form or any other information that you'd like to know about Splunk AR.